How would you like to be fearless? Nothing in the world could rattle you, nothing could shake you. Everything you dreamt of, you would say, "Yes, why not? I'm going to go for it." Well, I believe that that would rob you of the opportunity to stretch and grow and exercise courage. So, if you would like to be fearless, or if you've ever uttered those words, this episode is for you. Hello, I am Karen Seltz. I am your host. You are watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. And I'm really honored that you're watching. I had the honor of being at a business conference, well, business, right? But my business coach happens to be very spiritual. He has a shaman and he's into metaphysical things. And his girlfriend, who also works for him, is a meditation and yoga instructor. And we had the opportunity to really do some amazing, amazing things. And what I was reminded of, well, let me back up. Let me tell you what we did. So, this woman, her name is Jen or Jenny or Jennifer and Finley. And she studied under this woman named Heather Ashamara, who studied under Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the Four Agreements. And one of the things that Heather taught Jen was spoon bending. Now, I've been a very long time meditator. I'm into all things quantum physics, all the woo, all the stuff, right? Into possibility, like what else is possible? Or how about why not? Like, surely in the infinite realm of all possibilities, there's a potential for whatever I want, right? Like in some other realm, what you want already exists. There is a version of you already living the version or the dream that you're dreaming. So, what I practice doing is drawing that version to me, becoming her now, and shortening that timeline. But what we did in this meditation, it was the coolest thing I think ever. So when I heard spoon bending, I thought we're going to be like bending it with our minds. And yes, that was a component, but it wasn't all of it. So in quantum physics, I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza and I talk about him all the time. There is something, well, if you look at an atom under a microscope, this isn't just quantum physics, it's any physics. It is 99.999999999999913 empty space or information or energy, and only 0.0000000000001% matter. So when you think of a spoon, it seems very solid, right? It doesn't seem like you bend it unless you're muscling it. That is what we perceive with our 3D eyes, right? But it's vibrating, and the moving little particles make it look like it's a solid. So if we can switch our focus and just focus on the empty space or the energy, it's very easy to manipulate it, right? So that's what we were doing. We were focusing on the space in between the molecules, and we were putting little pulses on this spoon, little pulses. And we were being guided by Jen Finley. And there were a few things she said that really got me into a heightened emotional state. And I don't remember the first one. It was either like gratitude or love. Like, think of something you're grateful for, or a time when you were loving. I don't remember. And my spoon went whoop, it bent in half, like it was rubber, just like, and believe me, there were people like, and they had red marks on their thumbs and they were efforting and they still didn't bend their spoons. Now, this was no effort. It just became rubber and it moved. I don't know how it works. I've been studying this forever. I mean, not forever, but a long time. And I don't know how it works. I don't need to know, right? That's part of the beauty, is being in the unknown. And then she said the word courage, and I bent a different part of my spoon. So I find that fascinating. And it's so interesting to me that I'm going to show you my spoon first. Okay, so here's my spoon. Right? It is bent. It is bent, and it is thick. It's not a thin spoon. So what's fascinating for me, the the thing that came to me is I have so much faith in my ability to heal my body and in my ability to bend a spoon without effort, right? I have so much faith and I know that's possible. But there are other areas of my life where I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's only for other people. No, you better not do that. And where I've been afraid to even try or to afraid to believe bigger for myself in ways like that. So I found it fascinating. And I found the analogy of the spoon, like where I've been holding myself back, to be super duper interesting. So, what do you guys think about that? I would love to hear. And we have a guest. Andreea Tamas is with us. I'm asking you to unmute. So she is a sacred transitions coach. She is the host of the Spiritual Changemakers podcast, and she happens to be in Bali right now. And I didn't communicate with her yesterday, so I wasn't sure if she was coming. So I'm like, well, the show must go on. I'm going to talk about fear and courage. But now we're going to shift gears. So let's play. Welcome, Andreea.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's yeah, I'm traveling at the moment, so it's gonna be a short and sweet one.
Nice. So yeah, I would love for you to share with our audience. Kind of first tell us what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, of course. So I love helping people that are going through major life changes to empower them to show up as their best self. Because at the end of the day, when we are able to show up and lead ourselves during challenging times, then later on we have no regrets. So one of my purposes is to live a life with no regrets and help others do the same.
I love that. That leads in perfectly with what I was just talking about, which is that so many people, I hear this all the time, say they want to be fearless. And I say, fear is the only thing that enables you to be courageous and to stretch and grow. So what have you found, to be some of the key things that people get in their bodies, some of the key lessons or concepts before they can actually move through life with ease and grace?
I would say from my experience in working with many clients, it's very important to bring ourselves into the present moment, because our mind is running so much either into the future, worrying about what the future is holding, or has anxiety about the past. So when we are able to bring ourselves into the present moment, live in the moment, and ask ourselves, okay, what is it that it's in my control in this very moment? And focus on what it's in your control instead of constantly worrying about what others say, what others do, or circumstances that are just out of your control. And when you bring that, you actually empower yourself. And you're like, okay, I can control, for example, how I'm reacting right now, how I'm choosing to act, what I'm choosing to say. I'm controlling what is my just next very step instead of focusing on 10 steps ahead of you. So I would say present is very important. And a very fascinating thing I have learned from my journey and from being next to my partner. And I apologize. I'm here on Gili Island, and there are like all kind of things going on here.
I love it.
That our purpose in life is truly to give and receive love. And when we go back to ourselves, and when we go through challenging times, so hard times, and we maybe feel pain, we feel resentment towards what's happening, then go back to your heart, connect with your heart, and ask yourself, okay, what would love do? What can I do right now that it's from a place of love? And your actions, I promise you, are going to change when you are going inwards and when you are coming from that loving place.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's funny. I do a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza events, and there's a guy who had T-shirts made that say exactly that. What would love do? And he gives them out to people,
Mm,
and then there'd be like hundreds of people with the same T-shirts on. And it's just a reminder because a lot of times we forget. So I love
yes.
you bring that up, and that you said be loving to yourself, because so many women that I talk to, they're loving and giving to everybody else, and they come
Mm,
last or not at all. So what if
yeah.
find to be the case, with the clients you work with? Do you see that, or is there something else?
Oh yeah, it's I would say it's a pattern within the society, and especially as women, because we are nurturers. We love to give. We like this is in our nature. It's we come from our heart. So it's natural for us to look at who can I give? What can I do for others? Because it fulfills us. But what's happening is that we do it so much and so often that then we feel depleted and we don't have energy and we become frustrated and the boundaries are missing and we overgive because we want to please. And this has been such a big journey for myself as well. And this year when I started traveling, I told myself, this is my year. I'm choosing myself this year, no matter what. And I was tested so many times over and over and over again. Like, are you really choosing yourself? Are you ready to choose yourself again? And it's a constant test. And when you come from people pleasing to feeling empowered, and I would say as a woman, what I have discovered is that we many times we don't do the transition from being a girl into actually becoming a woman and embodying that now I'm a woman. I'm not a girl, a little girl anymore that it's here to please and satisfy everyone. It's I have my own needs, my desires, and coming from that core that I deserve to prioritize myself. I deserve to say no in order to fulfill my own needs.
I
So
love
doing
that.
the transition, I would say, from being a girl into becoming a woman, being your goddess.
Yeah, I love that. I think about other cultures. There's so many that do rite of passages at different ages. And
Mm-hmm.
at least in the United States, we don't really have anything like that.
I would say Western world, the Western world in general. And I literally I've been to a retreat recently. And one of the things we have done was that we were all in a circle as women, as sisters. And then we had this beautiful transition of each and every one of us stepped into the middle of the circle and just danced, expressed her woman, her goddess. And it was so powerful. I was like, wow, I want to bring more of this into the world because we need to have this like this step, this jump, this delimitation where it's like, that's it. I'm a woman now. And I know what I freaking want. I know what I desire, and I'm not afraid to speak about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so I want to backtrack. You said you were tested so many times, and I would love to hear, some of those stories, because I think people resonate with stories, and that's what they remember.
Yes.
And they might not know what you're talking about without a story. So are you willing to share it?
Of course, yeah. So when I started traveling, for example, it was last year in November, so a little bit over a year. I was in a relationship in United States, but we knew from the beginning that I'm gonna start traveling. I'm gonna go traveling, and I told him no matter how our relationship goes, I will do it. Like I'm not gonna put again because I've done it before. I'm not gonna put again my dream on the side or wait or whatever. This is something I'm gonna do no matter what. So that was like the first step. The second one, when I left, we were supposed to meet in Europe and travel a little bit together. He was supposed to meet me in Europe. And 1 month after I left, he's like, I don't think I can come. Um, I it's not a good time, and all kind of excuses. And he was like, how about you come back to the States and from here you're just gonna do your travels, And I really like loved him. And I was like, oh my God, like he's not gonna come, he's not gonna meet me. He wants me to like go and do it. And I'm like, this is an old pattern of mine where I'm so used to of me sacrificing and compromising and going almost the 100% mile. So as hard as it was in that moment, I told him that no, like this is not how I envision my travels. I don't envision going to the States and from there like traveling places. I'm like, no, I wanna like have this continuation of traveling. And as hard as it was, we chose to separate. And it was a very beautiful conscious uncoupling to say it out like that. But it was very hard. And that was like the first step where I was like, okay, this is my first step. Where am I really choosing myself? And I would say for me, because we are going to receive tests in different areas of our lives, depending on where we have settled, on where we have played small. And for me was relationships, number one. And number two, it used to be with family, where I was feeling so guilty if I wouldn't go and see everyone and just again going the 100% myself. And with my family this year, I visited them once, and another test I got where I had to be in tune with myself, where I went to visit my mom again. And every single time, because my parents are separate, my mom is in Italy and my dad is in Romania. And every single time when I visit one, I always visit the other one too. So they don't feel, that, oh, you care or you love more the other one. But this time I was going again through a breakup, and that's another test I'll go about. And I'm like, I just feel like I want to be nourished by my mom and loved by my mom. So I went to see my mom and I spent a month with her. And then I'm like, I don't want to go to Romania. And I had to face that guilt within myself, like, oh my God, how is my dad gonna feel that I'm not gonna go to see him? What is he gonna think? Now maybe he's gonna think I don't love him. So I had to face all those, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna do what feels right and what I need in this moment instead of just going just to go because I feel guilty. That's not fair, neither for me, neither for my dad. So I made a choice of not visiting my dad too. And it was a huge, huge thing for me. So these are some of the tests, but a lot of them are around love.
Yeah, you said so much. I can relate so much to sacrificing with the relationships. I remember when I was in college, I had a boyfriend, I don't know, for a long time. And I had the opportunity to study in Barcelona for 4 months. And I'm like, no, I can't leave him. He'll break up with me. And I did not go. And to this day, it's like one of my biggest regrets. And I still haven't been. So I totally get it. And I love that you saw it and made a different choice. Now, I would love to hear how it went, the conversation with your dad.
Yeah. So, my dad is very emotionally detached. Like with my mom, I can talk about anything, but my dad, he's very closed up, very emotionally detached. So I opened it up and I'm like, okay, dad, so I'm not going to come to Romania. How do you feel about it? Are you okay that I'm not gonna make it to Romania as well this time around? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely okay. You do what you need and what feels good for you. So he was very open, and I think the fact that I asked him was important for him because that made him feel like, okay, I matter. It's just I think it's important the communication in order to show people that okay, my decision probably has nothing to do with you, but it's about me and it's about what I need in this moment. And I want to honor that and to communicate with people so they understand, so they don't take it personally. And if they still end up taking it personally, if you have communicated clearly and from a place of love, then it's not on you, it's on them.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. You said so many things there. One is, I love the way you handled it with such presence, which is exactly what we were talking about in the beginning, is like being really present in the moment. And I think what a lot of people do is they project what they think the other person's going to say, how the person's going to react. And so they go in like defensive or
Mm,
attacking, and then things go sideways just as they predicted. So I love
exactly.
not do that. And I think it's an honoring of him and his ability to handle things or
Yeah.
you're dealing with,
Mm,
you know?
yeah, the 100%. Because when we start looking at people that they are powerful, they are adults. Yes, when we did deal with adults, they are their own adults, and they are powerful to handle and deal with their own emotions. It's not our job, and especially as women, because I think we tend to mother everyone. It's not our job to protect and mother everyone, but by being honest and by believing in their own power, we give them their power back.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and a lot of times it's so interesting. Like we think we know what people want. He may not want you to visit him every time because he probably knows there's energy attached to it. Like I have to, like I have to do this. I'm supposed to do this. A good daughter would do this. You know, all the things we put
Yes,
on ourselves. So I think it's really beautiful. It's an honoring of yourself and your father. So I love that.
yes. And another story around tests, because as I said, we're gonna be tested a lot, especially when we make this decision, of like, okay, I'm gonna get back to myself. I'm gonna choose myself, and I'm gonna honor myself. The universe it's gonna keep like testing you to see like, okay, are you really ready to up level your worth? Are you really ready for what you desire, for what you are asking into your life? Because so many times we ask for these big things, whatever, new love, a lot of money, whatever it is that you desire, but then your worth, it's not matching the desire that you want. It's not the same vibration. So then the universe is going to test you and be like, okay, are you going to raise your vibration to match your desire? So the last test I had was with a beautiful love story that I've had during my travels. Was this guy that I met in Thailand, and then we decided to be together. I went to Germany. He lives in Germany, and we had like such a beautiful romance and a super deep connection. And I really felt that I was so in love and that I fully opened my heart, and I'm like, oh my god, I was like on top of the world until uh my trust was betrayed with him, and my heart was so broken. And what came through in that moment, because it wasn't, for a lot of people, I would say, wasn't a big deal, wasn't anything major, but for me it was, because it was part of like, what are my non-negotiable, what are my values. And I had to make a decision in that moment of like, okay, am I going to stay and continue this relationship with this mistrust, with this betrayal that I feel right now? Or this is again getting back to myself. Am I going to choose myself, respect myself, and love myself so much that I'm not going to take this kind of behavior because I know my worth? So again, it was super hard, but I decided to leave. I decided to leave the relationship, and I'm still recovering from it after 2 months or 2.5 months, because my heart was really, really broken. But at the same time, I'm so proud of myself, because in the past, the little Andrea, the little girl, would have been, it's okay, it's not such a big deal. It's just get over it and it's gonna be better. So my old self would have chose differently, but right now I'm like, no, because I'm shifting who I am. I'm shifting who I'm becoming. And when we do that, we're gonna be faced to make different type of choices, and they're gonna feel super hard. Like it's not gonna be like a walk in the park. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, can I really do this? But I promise you that no matter what it is, you can choose yourself. You can make better choices. You just have to get to the place of truly believing in yourself and in your power.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think there's so much toxic positivity out there. Like, just think positive and you'll attract the love of your life, and there will be no challenges, no tests, no nothing. It's all going to be like a fairy tale. And it's really interesting because what you were mentioning before that is the level of integrity that you have with yourself. And it sounds to me like he didn't match that, and he was not a match
Yes.
for you. And yet society would say, oh, that's such a small thing, and I
Yeah.
love that you honored that. And
Yeah.
and it
And
doesn't mean it's not painful, and you're acknowledging.
exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly like you really touched the point on it when you said that it was the level of integrity, because this is what I shared with him too. Like for me, integrity and trust are like top for myself and within a relationship. And for me to do something childish, stupid, or whatever, like cheating in this moment in my life, it's not even about that I would cheat that person. I'm cheating on myself, because the way I feel with myself and being at peace with myself, with my actions, with my heart, it's one of the most important things.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about integrity quite a bit because I believe it's the foundation for self-trust, for self-confidence. And I love this example. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I used to do this a lot. Like, I would say, oh, I really want some ice cream. I'm just going to have one bite. And I go to the freezer with a spoon. I'd get the container out. I'd take a spoon and I'd go sit
Mm,
down on the couch. I'd eat my spoon and I'd be like, oh, that was good. And without even thinking, I'd be like, I'm going to have another one. And I would just go back and go back.
yeah.
I just had a bowl. And then I realized that I was creating such mistrust with myself. When I said something, my word meant nothing. And
Mm,
so once I became aware of that, I would go to the freezer with a spoon. I'm like, okay, the thought, like, I'm only gonna have one spoon. Okay, Karen, do you really only want one spoon? And so I would really sit and think about it, like, okay, I think, no, I think I want two spoons. So I'd get like a bowl and I put two spoons and I'd be done with it. And then there's no negotiation. And one of the things I used to say to myself is, I do not negotiate with terrorists.
oh my God, I love that.
And the ego voice is like the terrorist voice, like
Mm,
trying to get me to go back on my word. And your subconscious is there with a clipboard. Every time you make an agreement, whether it's in your head or out loud, it's like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then
yeah.
go back on it. The next time you agree to something, it's saying, sure, you're going to do it. You might as well quit now. And
Yes.
yeah, it's a slippery
Yeah.
slope.
And it's a journey. Like it took me years to get to this point, and so much work on myself to like even just trust, into my word and in what I'm saying, because I was exactly as you said. I'm like, I got to a point where no matter what I was saying that I'm gonna do, I'm like, bullshit. Like I don't believe you.
Yeah. So how is it now? Like, being able, because that's difficult, especially if you like to be in relationships. That's a hard.
Yeah. It's very hard because I should I say I was like a relationship addict in the point where my whole life I was in relationships. Like I had two 7-year relationships and then small ones in between. Like almost since I was like a little girl, like 16, I was constantly in relationships, and it's very hard to learn how it is to be on your own, how it is to be in a relationship with yourself. And this is part of my journey this year, and that's why even this week I have decided to come on Gili Air, on the Gili Tragawan, here in Bali. And I decided it was my birthday this week, and I decided to spend my birthday on my own. And everyone said I'm freaking crazy. They're like, what, on your own? Like, why would you do that? I'm like, because this is like a stamp in the ground that like accentuates and shows the journey I have been on to build a relationship with myself, to love spending time with myself, to love being in my own company. And I want to spend my birthday with myself. And it's
Oh,
been such a beautiful week. Like I have no words to describe. And I couldn't be happier that I chose that.
wow. Well, I'm really proud of you. And you're teaching women, even just, talking about it, like this is possible. You can do it on your own. You don't need someone to complete you because you're already complete. Ah,
Yes, and we talked about that on my podcast episode, no? Like to
yeah.
come in a relationship where you feel so full with yourself, with what you give yourself, with fulfilling your own needs, with giving love to yourself. That when you come in a relationship, it's just like an overflow. It's not like I need from you, I need, give me, give me, give me, but it's an overflow of what you receive from a relationship.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. And you can see people that haven't worked out their stuff, they want to be needed, but it really drains. It takes a lot of
Mm,
energy, especially if you're the only person fulfilling the other person's needs. And
yes.
unfortunately, Disney has set it up that way. Like you dump everything on your partner and you tell them all your secrets and all your complaints and all the things instead of
Yeah.
getting those needs met, like we were talking about outside the relationship by friends, by other people, and then coming together full and ready to pour
Mm.
each other and to complement each other, not to complete each other.
Exactly. And I wanna share with your audience, and the invitation that I'm making right now is to ask yourself, how can you become your best lover? How
Hmm.
can you be what you are seeking on the outside to be for yourself? And it's gonna look different for each and every one of you, but allow yourself and give yourself permission to tap into that and to ask yourself, okay, I want that from my partner, or I want a partner because I want to do that with him. Like, go back to yourself and be like, how can I give that to myself?
So beautiful. Ah, thank you so much for that. So, how can people find you?
Yes, I'm mainly spending a lot of time on Instagram, especially in my stories. That's where I put all the craziness, all the traveling, everything I'm doing these days. And it's I am Andreea Tamas. So you can find me on Instagram. And also I have my podcast, Spiritual Changemakers, where I have amazing guests like Karen, where we go deep into all kind of different topics about major life changes and how you can overcome them with ease and grace.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I'll link everything up in the show notes on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here, Andrea. And I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to stay connected.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much
Bye.
for watching Irresistible You Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. Mwah.
Bye, everyone.